Thank you.
They can. All of us.
But the biggest critic of all is probably the most high-profile critic of the bill became Elon Musk, who took to a tweet storm last Friday and Thursday and Friday. What's it?
The girls are fighting.
The girls are fighting, and he ripped into. It started with a Sunday morning segment that he had on CBS News, I think, and I'm gonna play that clip right here.
So, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
And he kind of subtly dropped the hint that I don't agree with everything in the bill. It was kind of polite, and it wasn't that abrasive or anything like that. And people noticed it, of course, but the very next day, or within a couple days, and I should quit throwing out what day it was but it was about a week ago. He said he started really tearing into him with a tweet storm and talking about how the bill, some of the words were, was an abomination.
Mm-hmm.
And that, pointing out the amount of money that, the money that it will cost the country, the debt, the national debt will go up. And eventually it got personal, where he actually dropped the bomb that Trump was in the Epstein files, as if we didn't already know he was in the Epstein files.
Right. Yeah, that's where I want to say two things. One, oh damn, I forgot the first one. Never mind. But the second one, like Philip said, anybody who doesn't think Trump is in the Epstein files, raise your hand.
Trump himself said that's old news.
Yeah.
Well, he wants it to be old news.
Well, I can sum it up.
Okay.
I can sum that up in one word. Duh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Duh.
I think.
Yeah, we know. And they asked a bunch of MAGA people, and they were like, I don't care.
Oh, they don't care about that.
No, because half of them are grooming their daughters to be somebody's teenage bride.
Well, they're just like, oh, he was a party animal, he liked women.
In my opinion.
He's guilty of liking women, that's what it is.
Yeah, but those women were 16 and 17 years old.
He's also been, guys, here's something to keep in mind also, is the fact that he's also been accused of molesting boys.
Really? Now that I hadn't heard.
Yep.
You mean Trump? Trump has?
Yes. Trump.
Okay, where is that coming from? If you know?
Not offhand, but there is the name of, at that time, an 11-year-old boy that was in that list of children that were molested by Trump.
Huh. Okay, I was not aware that he...
Roy Cohn had a history of that too, right?
Yep.
Nope.
That was Trump's mentor.
Oh.
Roy Cohn was his... a lawyer that he really learned how to be a shitbag under.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that people accept the fact that, yes, he's in the Epstein files, but if you get into the nitty gritty of how and how many times he's in the Epstein files, then you might start turning over some rocks and finding some rattlesnakes.
Well, and my understanding is that Melania was still a teenager. They said she was a teenager. She might have been 19. She might have been 18. She might have been legal but apparently she was somewhat groomed to be the perfect wife for a world leader. And that includes grooming her to, marry a gross old man. That is my opinion. He is gross.
But the thing is,
She was 28 when they met.
That's the official meeting. But there are rumors out there that he met her when she was younger.
Well, they called it the Lolita Express, right?
Right. That he met her on the
You know, at the
Lolita
movie
Express.
Lolita, it's about an underage, a grown man having an affair with an underage.
Actually, it was his stepdaughter, and she seduced him.
Lolita?
And I think I don't remember the movie.
No.
But
Didn't
yes,
Mr.
Lolita
Galvin
was a seductress.
Didn't Mr. Galvin had us study that in English?
Lolita?
I believe so.
It's possible, but I didn't actually do a lot of the actual homework. I just came in and took the tests.
But that's what they called Epstein's plane, where all these parties would take
Yeah.
place. But
Did he assign the book or the movie? Do you remember?
Excuse me. I want to say it was the book
Okay.
Sure, it was the book.
Yeah.
because he
I-
had
and-
it.
We weren't
I was
always
never
in the
assigned a
same
movie in high
English
school for anything.
class, so what's that, Aaron?
I was never assigned a movie in high school for anything.
We were a couple, but we were in a Will was in a different program, but I was in something called Citywide Learning, and it did include media components. And one of our teachers, our history teacher, did assign movies. He also likes to make speeches and ask for donations because he was poor.
the thing
He was,
is,
and I quote, teacher poor, and he would come into the classes and he would stand on a soapbox, and I actually had that soapbox made for him.
is he shorter?
Well, yeah, he was Japanese, but and he was appropriate height for a person of Japanese descent.
It was Joe Yashimura.
Joe Yashimura.
And fortunately, my history teacher was Mr. Ron Gant. And the way he taught history, I absolutely loved it. And that's why it gave me a greater appreciation for history. Not to get off subject.
He was a hell of a left fielder, too. He
Yeah.
could really hit the ball about 500.
Yeah.
Um,
He used to break
Yeah.
bats when he'd swing them
Yeah, I
over his own
love
biceps.
right.
I love I love Joe, and in our program we use first names, I love Joe. One of the things I thought was really funny was one of our students was a shall we say instead of a smoker, I'll just call him a toker, and he didn't quite get the joint all the way out when he was taking a joint between classes. And he comes to class and his pocket starts smoking. And Joe said, Jimmy, you might want to put your pocket out, your joint's on fire. That was all he did. That was it. And then there was another time, I don't know exactly how it happened, but we had a punk girl and she went by Furia. I think her real name was either Sally or Stacy. She was really cool. She was great. Such a nice person. But somehow somebody set her hair on fire. And Joe put it out. And she thought it was the coolest thing ever. Loved it.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
But anyway, Musk,
Mhm.
he's committing career suicide here, you think? Because he's completely burning bridges. He's taunting the president, and it really takes on the appearance of someone who has lost his mind or is completely wasted on something and drunk texting.
You think it might be, I don't know, ketamine?
Well, it could be. It could be. It really seemed like
He admitted to using ketamine for anxiety.
Well, everybody went to sleep that night thinking, well, this is over. This is the most dramatic breakup. Musk may be returning to the Democratic Party and funding a Democratic campaign or has some sort of vendetta against Trump. And yet you wake up the next morning and you find out at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning that he's being very contrite. And now he's trying to roll back. He's deleting tweets and shit.
I think they threatened his life.
But
I believe that thoroughly. I have absolutely no doubt.
And now a week later, Tesla is rebounding slightly. it does seem to be that he's starting to, he could find his way back into the good graces, especially because of the money.
Yeah. Oh, he can
The
pay his
money.
way back in, but he's not getting all the way back in.
Well, Trump could never trust him again after that, for sure. But it just shows how mercurial and erratic and crazy the fucking White House is to have these types of relationships going on. It affects so many people.
Okay, Aaron, what's the thing most on your mind that we haven't already gotten to?
That we haven't already gotten to?
Yes. Is there something else that we have not discussed that you have at the top of your mind?
The top of the list has already all been mentioned, I think.
Okay.
The Minnesota stuff's top of my list.
Yeah. Yeah. Any loss of life.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. For me, after loss of life comes arresting a veteran and taking his walker away while his hands are tied behind his back. That's just no. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. Are you proud of yourself? Shame, shame, shame. Okay.
Did we mention they're flying Predator drones over the LA protests?
No,
No, we didn't.
we had drones at ours, and I made sure to smile, wave, and permanent and proudly display the sign.
A Predator drone looks like a fighter jet.
Okay. I was not aware. No, I was not aware of that.
The one we saw from a distance looked like something he could have picked up at Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah, it was more like it probably wasn't even news related, but I figured just in case it was the news.
Yeah.
Hi.
But that's interesting, Aaron. The whole thing in Los Angeles, that's huge because that's been the catalyst or the excuse that Trump has used to deploy the National Guard and the Marines. And by all accounts, the depiction of the rioting that's taking place is severely exaggerated.
Mhm. Yeah.
By the time the National Guard got there, it was pretty much under control.
Well, yeah. And the thing that I loved was when Trump had the little press conference saying that the National Guard did a great job, and they weren't there yet. So that was fun.
And of course,
You know, he
Sending
really
the National Guard without the governor approving.
Gavin,
Another thing.
Gavin Newsom,
right. They have
Yep.
that has been declared illegal by the court.
But that was an appellate judge.
Stayed that motion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The next thing that are we good?
Well,
with
let's
this?
talk just a little bit more.
Talk about Padilla.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about
Yes,
Newsom.
yes,
Just a little bit.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Let's
Start
talk
with
about
Newsom,
Alex
then go to
Padilla.
Padilla.
Okay.
Specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
The matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
head
talk about
off.
specifically how many of our ICE agents have been docked.
All right.
One of the things, and I think it's Padilla that doesn't want it to be made a race issue, but for me, it totally is a race issue because they saw a Latino man and they pulled him down. I don't think that they would have done that if it was somebody who looked like
Jimmy
Philip
Costa.
or
Well-
Aaron. Well, maybe Aaron. No, just kidding, Aaron. But you know, if it was one of us, I do not believe the reaction would have been what it was. They pulled
Actually-
down a Latino.
Actually, I believe they would have because of the fact that it was a Democrat.
Yeah, but how would they know you or I were a Democrat?
Well, it's a known fact that Alex.
I mean, I'd have had Democrats screaming on me, but that's beside the point. Go ahead.
Because of the fact that everyone knows that he is a Democratic senator from Texas, Kristi Noeme decided to single him out because not only of that fact, but like you mentioned, he is Latino.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
so that basically was a double whammy against Padilla.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is what Kristi Noeme did and what the security members did was an absolute violation of his constitutional rights.
Correct.
His rights as a senator.
Absolutely. He did identify himself clearly in the video.
He had oversight.
Charge in. He stepped forward strongly. I do believe that. But he wasn't charging. And there were at least 4 rows of chairs between him and her.
Well, it's the same thing as we saw in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
The senator has oversight rights to question the activity of the government.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all he was doing, was exercising his oversight.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find ridiculous about it is Noam and everybody in that room acted as if they did not know him. And yet he had interviewed her, you know, in
the Senate.
In the Senate.
They were inside a government building. That's what gets me. How did he get into the building? It's not even on the primary level. They're not 3 doors down from the entrance.
They all know who that guy is.
Right.
They all know.
No way they don't.
They knew
I don't
every
believe it.
single they know who the senators are. They can pick them out.
It's possible that these cops may not have been,
But Noam would have
but
known.
no one would have known.
So I thought it was very productive, and I wish that he would have reached out and identified himself and let us know who he was and that he wanted to talk. His approach, was something that I don't think was appropriate at all. But the conversation was great, and we're going to continue to communicate. We exchanged phone numbers, and we're going to continue to talk on ways we can communicate.
Would have known. There's no way she didn't. Plus, he identified himself clearly. Now, he didn't yell, until they grabbed him. That's true. But he wasn't up closer to the podium. Maybe he didn't want to scream from the back of the room. Had he screamed from the back of the room, they'd have had a problem with that.
Actually,
and they did
would
let
have.
him, huh?
Actually, they would have. Because how dare he speak out in any manner, again, against beloved leader.
Right, exactly.
So he would have been a target either way.
Yeah.
But the fact that these security members had their knee in his back, forcing his arms back.
Mm-hmm.
That
After he had said he was a senator.
Yes, that alone was a violation of his, not only as his rights as a senator, but that was a violation
of his rights as a human.
Yes.
As a citizen of America.
Yes.
Yeah. And they have done that to people, and the people have died.
Yeah.
Because you take a look at that one Democratic senator that went to visit that ICE installation, for lack of a better term, the detention center.
Mm-hmm.
She was literally put in handcuffs and arrested.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Right. And also I don't know if the law enforcement guy that was arrested because he looked like all the other Latin people they were arresting.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name or his agency. I do apologize if he sees this for any reason. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of other stuff happening this weekend, to be fair. But yeah, they pulled him in. And also, the only manager that they have arrested, manager/owner that they have arrested during a raid was, Brown.
There's another angle to it that I just wanted to throw out there is that they got the big, beautiful bill. They needed to pass the Senate. They know who every fucking person in the Senate, who they are, what they look like, how they voted, where they're at.
Yeah, that was Congress.
There's no way that
the Senate.
There's no way that if you're trying to get a bill passed,
you don't
that
know
only passed the House by one vote, that you don't know every single person that's going to be voting for it in the Senate.
Right.
So
And here's the other side of that coin, Philip. How many Republicans have spoken out against the treatment that Padilla got? Let me help you.
0.
Yeah, and what is it? Dear Leader Junior Johnson,
Mike Johnson. Yeah.
yeah, he actually
mean
wants
Eddie
him
Munster?
censured for his activity.
You
Oh,
mean
that's
Eddie
funny.
Munster?
Yeah.
Eddie Munster, I like that. Okay. Taco Jr. No, well, he's not Taco, but yeah, Dear Leader Junior.
He wants to tar and feather Newsom. That's what he said. He said, I don't know if we didn't indict him, but we tar and feather. I mean, so he's like resorting to frontier justice and shit.
Yeah,
That's not my lane. I'm not going to give you legal analysis on whether Gavin Newsom should be arrested, but he ought to be tarred and feathered. I'll say that. I mean, look, he's standing in the way of the administration and the carrying out of federal law.
yeah, he wanted him. His initial reaction was to say he should be censored for his behavior.
Yeah.
And I'm
Of
like,
course, and that's
bullshit.
another way. And that's another way of controlling the Democratic Party.
The narrative. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is to censure and silence them.
Yeah.
Because again, how dare you speak out against dear leader?
Mm-hmm.
So, Lisa, I
Yeah.
know that you have. Are there any women's issues that you wanted to bring up?
Oh, we need a whole freaking episode
Yeah.
just for women's issues. Maybe we could do a special episode, you know, in between political cadences. But I mean, so many. The fact that all of these quote unquote abortion bills include restrictions on birth control. The state, was it Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama? I can't remember which state it was, something with an M, that said that women, if you have a miscarriage, you need to call 911 and report your miscarriage so they can determine if you did something, if you killed it, basically. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
They said, well, you can call your doctor, but really, to protect yourself, you want to call the police. And I'm like,
And here's the thing with that. Okay,
what are the police going to do?
I don't think there's a single woman in America that sits up and plots and plans a miscarriage. Not a
anymore.
damn one.
Yeah.
Not a damn
I'm not a
one.
miscarriage. Okay, now I want to be clear. A miscarriage is loss of pregnancy. An abortion can be, a miscarriage can be an abortion. An abortion is simply the end of a pregnancy. And a miscarriage is an unintentional loss. So many abortions can be miscarriages, but, and that, if I am wrong, please feel free to correct me. You know, if you hear something that I'm saying is wrong, this is my understanding. But, and I think that's where they need to stop using the term abortion for period, actually. Good luck with that if you don't say abortion anymore. But a miscarriage is usually a woman knows she's pregnant. She's hit like 16 weeks maybe. She goes to the bathroom and more comes out than expected. She's in intense pain. She's probably still bleeding. And now they want her to, and sometimes women have done that, not even realized they had a miscarriage and just flushed the toilet thinking, you know, whatever. But I mean, that has happened apparently.
Yeah,
But
the majority of miscarriages is because of either a medical condition or something that happens during the pregnancy term of the mother, which endangers both the mother and the fetus.
Well, that's like a health condition. But a lot of the times, fetuses just aren't viable. Maybe something went wrong. And so the human body says, this is not okay. This one's bad. Let it go.
But
But the thing is, that doesn't constitute murder.
Yeah, but these states are trying to say that if you don't let them look at your vagina, it could be considered, you could be charged with murder. Oh,
Yeah.
and what is it? The incubator story.
Well, there's one state that is actually trying to make miscarriage a federal crime.
Yes, and well, and the state that I'm talking about, and I can't remember. Let's see. It could be the death penalty. They've already passed that law.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
This is new.
So
In
if
Seattle, an ICE special response team and Tukwila police used tear gas, flashbangs, and pepper balls on a crowd of about 150 people Saturday who showed up to protest an unusual check-in procedure for immigrants. In the end, at least 2 of the immigrants were detained, sparking outrage among protesters. So they're tear gassing and pepper balling protesters in Washington.
well, they're definitely stoking the fire.
And
And the reason why they're stoking the fire is so Trump has a legitimate reason for
To send in
declaring
the
martial
military.
law.
Yeah.
Right. It's fairly a pattern is, you had 7.1 no kings people out there. The pattern is starting to develop where the violence is happening where immigrants, where the immigration issue is front and center. It's not where college educated white people are protesting. it's
It's where they can arrest people.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
I see Phil's notes here that he took probably last week. Did we mention Trump stumbling up the steps or the Australian reporter getting shot with rubber bullets?
Not yet, but let me do this real quick. One last female situation. Adriana Smith in Georgia. Now I want you to picture your daughter, your wife, your niece. Okay? She's brain dead. And the state, against the wishes of her family, has decided to keep her alive on life support so that she can eventually get birth. Okay, which bans, okay. The act, also known as the Heart Board, okay, Fairness and Equality, Living Infants Fairness and Equality, or the Heartbeat Law, which bans most abortions after fetal cardiac activity is detected around 6 weeks of pregnancy. Because she is pregnant and the law grants personhood to the fetus, her body is being maintained until the fetus can potentially survive outside the womb. The family's position. Her mother, April Newkirk, and other family members believe the choice of whether to continue life support should have been theirs, not dictated by the government. They are facing emotional distress and mounting medical bills. Ethical and legal questions. This case
They're
is
being
sparked-
charged for the state keeping her alive against their will?
Yes.
Why not? Of course. Why
Yes,
would the state pay for that?
I remember hearing about that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This is a
And again, this is another example of Republicans only caring about the fetus, but once the baby's born, now it's a leech on society.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
This is another prime
No
example.
food once you're born, but until you're born. Oh, and one of the things that, and this is the last thing that I will say, one of the reasons why they think that they want to remove like SNAP benefits is because it pays for formula. And why should they pay these lazy women for the use of expensive formula when they have milk right there? Why aren't they feeding their babies? Why are these lazy, no good women not feeding their babies?
Yeah, but
Now, while you're feeding your baby, you're supposed to go to work because you can't get benefits unless you work. So who's going to watch the baby you're not feeding while you're at work? It's just ridiculous.
well, not only that, but you take a look at the crap that they're putting in baby formula. So either way, the baby's going to die.
Right. Well, and like my mother had a condition called Zuskus disease. And what that means is her breasts or the milk that was produced, she was literally allergic to the milk. And instead of milk, she produced this like weird green fluid. Well, they didn't know what Zuska's disease was. They just knew her milk was not okay. So they put my brother on one of the early formulas. And then she was never able to breastfeed because they had to like give her, she almost died from this condition. And they had to actually give her emergency like IVs to stop her milk production. You know, because now if you decide not to nurse or you can't nurse for some reason, they give you pills to stop your your production. They had to put her in the hospital and give her IVs.
Well, don't you feel like the Republican agenda not only explicitly targets women with some of these things like the SAVE Act, but they implicitly, in a lot of things that you might not think on the surface, actually victimize women. And it does. When you dig into it, you find out that it does. And it's all part of overall philosophical.
Removing these benefits takes away a woman's ability to leave a negative situation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a fact.
When you get evangelicals that are not in favor of divorce or they're not in favor of abortion, you know,
Right.
and that leads into their overall political position on almost everything.
Yeah.
Well, as far as I know, no religion advocates divorce.
No.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, ours does. Men can divorce women and leave them completely destitute with no income.
Point taken, Will. I mean, it's not just Christians, but yes.
I mean, the Christian religion, you know, the Bible actually does say that men can divorce women. Mm-hmm.
Well, according to evangelicalism, the man basically rules over the woman's body also.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, again, with the evangelical radicals, there is a reason why there was a separation between church and state. When church ventures into state, now they're no longer religion, they're political, which means they should lose their tax exemption as well.
I agree. Well, but the big beautiful bill does have a provision that makes Christianity the official religion of America. So I'm sorry, Aaron. Thank you for letting me pontificate.
So we're going to do the fuck up of the fortnight?
Okay.
Or do we have something else?
Aaron?
Yeah. I was just looking at Phil's list.
Okay.
Yeah, there was the the Australian reporter that was shot with the rubber bullets in LA. Seems like intentionally.
It did. If you look at the video, you first see it and you're like, oh, she got hit by a stray bullet. But then you start to look at the background. You can see the shooter in the picture. And it looks like he just turns and.
Yeah. Trump stumbling up the steps to Air Force One. That's just funny because they never let Biden live that down.
Exactly. They didn't. Mm-hmm.
Marines sent to LA with inadequate housing and provisions and nothing to do.
Right. And then the radical right trying to say that those were old pictures and it wasn't true. Bullshit.
Trump's D-Day comments with the German Chancellor.
Oh yeah, what were those?
We all are looking for measures and for instruments to bring this terrible war to an end. And may I remind you that we are having June 6th tomorrow. This is D-Day anniversary, when the Americans once ended a war in Europe. And I think this is in your hand in specific, in ours.
That was not a pleasant day for you?
No, that was not a pleasant.
This was not a great
in
day.
the long run, Mr. President, this was the liberation of my country from Nazi dictatorship.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
And we know what we owe you. But this is the reason why I'm saying that America is again in a very strong position to do something on this war and ending this war. So.
I'm sorry.
He said, do I have it written down?
Probably.
I know what he said.
Oh, there it is.
He told the
Oh.
German, or yeah, it was actually the German president. He told him, "Oh, D-Day was a very bad day for you," and he kind of smirked and laughed at the camera, like he got a zinger in there, and implying that here comes the U.S. Army that put down the German army.
Basically calling him a Nazi.
Basically drawing like there were
Trump
parallels
fascist.
between our governments and fascism, and the German president corrected him and said, "No, that was actually a very good day for us because it began the liberation of our country from fascist rule." And Trump had an egg on his face, and
Oh, I love it when they put
as
him
much
down.
as possible, he kind of covered up.
Okay.
Pam Bondi's brother getting trounced in the election.
And
because he's
Kristi
Pam
Noeme
Bondi's brother.
pretending she didn't know who he was.
Right. All right. So we'll try to buzz through this. Aaron kind of,
This one.
yeah, I like that one. Did I in there?
The Australian officer, Trump deciding that Gavin Newsom should be arrested for the crime of running for governor.
Yeah. That was his estimation when a reporter asked him what he.
In which Tom Homan went on national television and said point blank that he had no intentions of arresting Newsom because he had committed no crime.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If that was a crime, then the 8 times Trump's been running for president and not making it past the first step, not even making it to the debates. He was running for president. He ran at least 4 times before 2016 or whatever it was, 2012.
Well, Holman would love nothing more than to arrest Gavin Newsom and get a photo opportunity of taking him to jail. But he knows that Trump had no response. He just said he was guilty of being a bad governor, or guilty of running for office or something. It's totally stupid. Should give insight into his intellectual capacities to anybody that cared about it. But he just said that's shit. Didn't care.
Kristi Noeme joining an ICE raid on the wrong house.
Oh, I don't have that, but that is a good one.
No, we didn't.
It was a pregnant woman, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, ICE raids graduation party detains American citizen and honor student
Right.
in Milford,
Marcelo
Massachusetts.
Gomes.
ICE invades toddler's birthday party. It was a toddler's birthday party. They shot in the direction of infants. Okay. And they arrested like 40 people who were later let go because there was absolutely no evidence.
But they'd have you believe that it was a
They said it was a gang meeting.
gang.
Well, here's one that we didn't touch on, and that was a guy that intentionally called ICE on someone, claiming that they were an illegal immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
And here to find out they were actually an American citizen.
Yeah.
And the guy admitted that he called ICE on purpose to have this person deported.
Mm-hmm. He was basically a Karen.
Yeah.
Xenophobe.
Excuse me to all the decent Karens out there.
Yeah, right.
Because we just found out our new next door neighbor, Karen.
She's a Karen. Her name is Karen. She seems very nice though.
Yeah.
I don't think the name applies to.
Now, my younger brother married a woman named Karen. We're not going to say, if you don't have anything nice, don't say anything at all.
All right. Fuck ups of the fortnight.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Kristi Noeme edition. I like the one that you came up with, Lisa, talking about the house that was raided.
Okay.
But I did have 8 that were already.
You had that up here.
If we need to change it,
Okay.
what would we take out to make room for those?
No, it's fine.
Okay, we'll go with what we
Go
got.
with whatever 8 you got.
Okay, all right. So, first one, Elon Musk tweet storm versus Pam Bondi boldly claiming, I say that 3 times, Pam Bondi boldly claiming Kilmar Abrego Garcia would never see American soil again. And of course, she had to eat those words.
So he is not coming back to our country. President Bukele said he was not sending him back. That's the end of the story. If he wanted to send him back, we would give him a plane ride back. There was no situation ever where he was going to stay in this country. None. He would have come back, had one extra step of paperwork, and gone back again. But he's from El Salvador. Abrego Garcia has landed in the United States to face justice. On May 21st, a grand jury in the Middle District of Tennessee returned a sealed indictment charging Abrego Garcia with alien smuggling and conspiracy to commit alien smuggling in violation of Title 8 USC 1324.
Yeah, she had to eat those words when they actually brought him back and are trying to charge him with human trafficking.
So, Elon and Trump break up. Pam Bondi, egg on her face.
The Elon one was a bigger deal. I think it got the Marines sent to LA.
I think so. I kind of have to, Pam Bondi embarrasses herself on an almost daily basis, so it's almost not even a story. Will?
I would have to say it was Kristi Noeme.
No, this is
She's not in this.
Not in this list. Okay, it's Elon Musk and Trump tweet storm versus Pam Bondi claiming that Kilmar Abrego Garcia will never see American soil again, only to have to eat her words the following day.
I misspoke. I meant to say Pam Bondi.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think Elon, hun?
So we got 2 for Musk, 1 for Bondi. So I could either tie it up, or I think Elon Musk is slightly, I really don't like Pam Bondi at all. I think I've already told her.
Musk is no longer a problem. No one at today's protest had a, get rid of Elon Musk sign.
I think he's more like.
That's because they got rid of him.
Right, exactly.
He's
That's
going to
what
come
I'm saying.
back in some form. I don't know
So
what it is.
Pam Bondi's still there.
I'm going to go with Musk.
Yeah, Musk moves on. Okay. The next one, Trump stumbling up the stairs to Air Force One versus deploying Marines to Los Angeles.
This is a no-brainer. It's the Marines being deployed to LA.
Yep.
That's going to be a sweep, I think. That's a sweep.
Sorry, I don't know where the hat is, but I could just take my dad's Marine veteran, wounded soldier. My dad came back from Korea. A Marine came back from Korea with shrapnel still in his head because they couldn't remove it in Korea. And he still had it at 85. Yeah. Okay. So I think the Marines moves on there. Okay. Trump completely missing the point of D-Day and meeting with German government versus Joni Ernst's quote-unquote apology.
I'm going to say Donald Trump's gap with the German chancellor, because that was basically a slap in the face to him.
Yeah.
Okay. Honey?
I said, yeah. I think that is true. I think that is true. That's such a profound thing. The president should have a very profound
He should have his finger on the pulse.
Understanding of World War II and everything.
Yeah.
And
Even if he knows nothing else.
Completely vapid, tone deaf comment in front of the German leader.
Aaron?
Well, it's a battle of vapid, tone deaf comments here.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger deal domestically would be Joni Ernst, because internationally, countries already know who and what Trump is. Domestically, these are people that voted Republican that are now furious with Joni Ernst.
Okay. But, were they actually people that voted Republican who are now furious with her? But,
they're in Iowa,
I don't know. It's a tough one for me because I feel like the fact that she said this and not a single Republican said that was deplorable,
They don't use that
is
word. They're a basket of deplorables.
Yeah, and basically that's the Republican mindset.
exactly, because it demonstrates the Republican mindset, in my opinion. And that's why it's hard for me, because on the one hand, he embarrassed himself in front of the entire world, but I'm sure this has gone national. I think we're going to have to make it a tiebreaker.
So you're going with Ernst?
Yeah.
Well, how the hell are we going to do this? You're going to have to lead it because
With me, guys, is the fact that Trump basically had a Bill Engvall moment. It was like, here's your sign.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Ready? Is that paper?
That's paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more time.
Nope.
Okay. Rock hits scissors, so I win. Okay. So, Ernst, or do we do?
Wouldn't Aaron and Will?
Yeah, Aaron and Will, your turn.
What?
Do rock,
Didn't we
paper,
just solve the tiebreak?
Do we want to?
You're right. You're right. That's what was doing.
Otherwise, it could tie again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So Ernst moves on.
I was looking forward to rock, paper, scissors with you, Aaron.
We can do the next one.
We'll find a reason. Yeah.
We'll give you guys the next one.
Okay. Final of the second round of the fuck up of the fortnight. Here you go. Now, this is your one you were waiting for, I think.
Okay. Kristi Noeme's detail wrapping up Senator Padilla, blah, me speak good, versus Pam Bondi's brother getting trounced, and Kristi Noeme saying, who? Oh.
Wait a minute.
I got to go with the Alex Padilla incident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think probably Pam Bondi and Ernst are both remarkable because they have the potential of starting to turn some seats in Congress.
Just through their stupidity.
They have the potential of changing some Republican seats down the road, but I do feel that the most alarming and immediate threat to our freedom is represented by the Padilla thing. That's more
by a senator being detained.
That's
even if it was only for a short while.
Yeah, that would be a sweet.
Yeah.
All right, well done.
Okay.
I think we did it again.
So now we got to do the fourth. Okay.
Four.
Elon Musk Trump breakup versus Marine deployment.
Those are tightly related, but
yeah.
Yeah, Marines.
Yeah, yeah.
The Marine deployment for sure.
Hoorah!
Hoorah! Semper Fi.
Yep. Semper Fi.
That's 3 votes for Marine.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. United States Marine Corps.
Because I don't really believe that they're going to be completely broken up forever. They're going to have another romance. I feel like a Musk.
They already are.
Yeah.
They're more or less made up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Marines also.
Okay. So we're down to Ernst pretending saying that everyone's gonna die versus Senator Padilla being detained.
Padilla.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Padilla. All right, here's
what I'm doing in another podcast. And Philip acts like I'm going to hit him with a broom every time.
Well, you come close.
I'm not even close. I'm this far from your face. Okay?
All right.
That's pretty close.
Very cool.
It's my entire arm.
Your arms aren't that long.
That's true. I do have short arms.
Now me, I have a wingspan.
Yeah, I have wider shoulders for a girl, and my arms are just kind of almost ridiculously short. Yeah. My nieces were talking about the rule at their school that the skirts had to be at least 2 inches past your fingertips when you put your fingers down. Child, I'd have been breaking some laws, and I'd have been perfectly within the rules. You'd have been able to see my hoo-ha and my what. Okay.
Here's for all the marbles here. Here we
Okay.
go. This is the biggest
Marine
one.
deployment with no support, no, for the fact that he tried to deploy Marines on American soil to fight American citizens.
In a role they're not even trained to do.
No, they're not trained to do it, and it's not legal. Versus Senator Padilla being detained, no matter how, being cuffed, being held down and cuffed for trying, while identifying himself clearly,
asking a question?
trying to ask a question at a press conference, at a government press, a senator.
So it's Trump's fuck up versus
In the
Pam
building he
Bondi.
worked in the state of
Kristi Noeme.
California. So, Marine deployment versus senator being detained.
Well, being that I live here in California, I would have to say it's overstepping his authority over Newsom's in engaging the Marines.
Okay. I mean, he did that by federalizing the state's,
National Guard.
yes, he did that before he brought in the Marines. Bringing in the Marines is just icing. I mean, not to put it down in any
It's
way,
also kind of
but they
unprecedented.
are
But
related and it's unprecedented, and
But
it
the
needs to
bottom
be
line
known.
is Trump overstepped his authority.
Oh yeah, but he does that on a regular basis.
The National Guard, there's
It's a
instances.
daily thing.
The
I'm not.
National Guard is supposed to be under control and the regulation of the governor of California, not the president of the United States.
And that is state per state. The National Guard is under the purview of the governor of that state.
Yep.
Okay, so Aaron, which way are you going? Marines or senator or Padilla?
Marines.
Okay,
So it's 1-1.
and I have
2-0.
I know that it sounds like I'm arguing, but I am going to say the Marines as well. Hun? You want to throw one to Padilla or is it a sweep?
Is it a sweep?
Break out the broom, baby.
Yeah, it's going to be a sweep. The other thing was
What's your
kind
face?
of a horror movie. But,
I'm not going to hit you with it. I just want to get it close to your face. This is where he feels like it is. This is where it is. Okay.
Still
That's what
pretty
it is
close
now.
to his face.
Yeah,
she's going to smack me with it at some point for sure.
That'll
oh,
be
yeah.
off camera, though.
That's right. That's
You,
right.
you know you love it.
Well, so we have another one in the books here. So this was another spirited debate.
And I do not know why Trump is after our cats, but he is not allowed to grab my pussies without permission.
But
I've
all right,
got
guys.
more podcast homework to do. I need to finish watching the Pee-wee doc.
We got about half an hour to go.
That's long, man.
It
I didn't
is.
realize it was
It
going to
is.
be like 4 hours.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty interesting, though, isn't it?
It is pretty interesting.
Are you interested in joining us on the Pee-wee podcast?
Honestly, I did a lot of running around today, so
Okay.
I'm going to have to call it a night because.
Oh, that's not
It's an
tonight.
early one, too. 9 a.m.
Right, right.
And
Oh,
when
we're doing that.
this-
Is that tomorrow?
Yeah. It's a 4-hour documentary.
Yeah, I got some errands to run tomorrow, so I'm gonna have to take a pass on this one.
It's all good.
Yeah,
All right.
we just want you to know you're included. You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, guys.
All right.
Got to
Cheers.
stay safe in this cruel world.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Will do.
it's hard.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
Depend on each other here.